Just started here, letting everybody log in before we get going. We appreciate you being here today for I think we're going to call this third in a series of webinars we've been talking about for the last month and a half or so on basically, doing things to make your firm better, yourself better, be more efficient. And today's title is Your Firms, Your Terms. And so we just want you to talk about today creating a stress-free work environment, what we can do to be the most efficient as possible. I think stress is something that we learn and we can de-learn it as well. And so there's many things we can do to make our lives better. And that's what we're going to hopefully learn not hopefully, that is what we are going to learn today. We are right a minute after the top of the hour, so I'm going to jump into it. Little housekeeping before we get going. This is available for CPE. You know the plan here. You have to stay logged in 50 minutes. You have to answer at least 3 of the 4 polling questions, which I will be popping up, and I will warn you that they're popping up during the presentation. I just want to let you know, if you're using the Zoom app, you should be good. And the app is on your computer. If you're logging in through a website, I don't know if this is still the case, but the website version of Zoom may block pop-ups. So make sure your pop-up blocker is not up right now, because if it is, you won't see the polling questions. But I know most people have now, I think, downloaded the Zoom app to their computer. So if you're in that way, you should be fine. If not, answer the polls in the chat, and we'll make sure that you get credit for that. Certificates will go out quickly. I say 2 to 3 days. It might even be faster than that. It will go to the email address that you registered with. Again, check spam, junks. Occasionally it has gone there. You will get a copy of the slides. This will also be on YouTube as early as today. And I'm sure we'll get lots of views on this one. This is going to go viral with all the information we're sharing today. So that's housekeeping. A couple last housekeeping things I want to tell you. We will be looking at the Q&A. Put questions in there, not in the chat. If you want to talk, put in the chat. Talk amongst yourselves, put in the chat. If you want to ask a question, that's what we'll be monitoring. I should verify that you're all hearing me and seeing me and all that, but I'm sure you are, since nobody in the chat is saying I don't hear anything, so that's good. But put your questions in the Q&A. There was one question about the slides. Slides will go out with your certificate very quickly. All right. Quick plug, just so you know, Tri-Merit, that's who I am. Well, technically I'm Randy Crabtree, not Tri-Merit, but their company's Tri-Merit. We just do a lot of support of tax professionals through tax credits and incentives. We're out there to help you in that arena. There's the things that we deal with. We cover the entire country, and I'm guessing we probably work with a lot of you already. So thank you for that. All right, I am not alone today, which very fortunate that I'm not alone, because I've got 2 great experts with me today to talk about this, your firm, your terms. First is Kristen Keats. Kristen has a life mission of bringing joy to accounting. You can see all her information there. Co-founder of multiple businesses, been doing this for a while, and is a small business enthusiast. Also very active out speaking on different topics. And this all leads up to our conference, which will be the end of August, which these 2 will be speaking at as well. And then Al-Nesha Jones is also with us today. You see all her stats, a lot of accolades. She just won an award last month that I'll probably ask her to mention that. She also runs a small firm, has some very unique aspects to it. These both do. Kristen, I said, is bringing joy to accounting. Al-Nesha has a really interesting aspect to her firm, is that everybody she works with are working mothers. And I think it's just an awesome aspect of the way she looks at things. And we'll learn that today. And then there's me. I'm the boring guy. They're the interesting ones. So there's my stuff. Hopefully some of you have seen me before, and I'm going to skip through that. All right. So why are we talking about this? Why do we have this series of webinars going on right now? And it's because we have some issues in our profession. We can get rid of these issues, but the issues is that we, as a profession in general, burnout is way too rampant. Us taking orders from our clients and not taking control of our firms is way too rampant. And because of all of that, we unfortunately have a higher likelihood of even developing depression. So this whole series of webinars that we're doing is just to try to help us to learn things that really interesting people doing and how we can implement into our firms and just help us have a better work-life balance and be more efficient. All right. We're going to jump into it. I introduced the two of them. First off, I want to ask Al-Nesha just to give us a little more background on your firm before we get into these questions.
Yeah, with pleasure. I'm Al-Nesha. Thank you, Randy. I run ACE Group. Fun fact, ACE is made up of the first initial of my 3 children's names, Ava, Savannah, Elisha. That's where that came from. And we empower individuals and small business owners to take control of their financial future. We primarily work with small business owners, but as you know, small businesses are run by individuals, so we can't ignore them. And I think some cool things about our firm, similar to Kristen, we are a cloud-based firm. Our team, they all work virtually. We are currently comprised of all working moms, which I think is super cool. We did our first 4-day work week for a full year. So straight through tax season, we worked a 4-day work week. We worked Monday through Thursday, major for us. That was a huge, huge accomplishment. And in general, our team members work flexible schedules. So the hours in which we work all differ, but we're responsible, accountable people, and we make sure that we get things done for our clients. We've taken a really proactive approach to teaching our clients how to work best with us. And that's really what's made all the difference in running a firm that works best for us and helps us best support our clients.
Yep. And that's a key reason why you're here today, because of those things that you just mentioned. So looking forward to the discussion. Kristen, again, before we get to questions, can you give us a description of your conglomerate of businesses that you've got going and a background on your firm?
Sure. Yes. So in 2019, my partner and I started Breakaway Bookkeeping and Advising, which is a completely virtual bookkeeping, CFO, controller to go business. And so there's no tax work being done there. In late 2020, I purchased Sherwood Tax and Accounting, which we do. It's a very, was a traditional accounting firm in the sense that it serves small business clients and individuals with bookkeeping, tax return preparation, payroll, et cetera. And at the beginning of 2021, we actually started an outsourced staffing firm based out of Guadalajara, Mexico. So we're trying to help solve the staffing crisis in the accounting industry. And so we've been growing all 3 of the businesses, but for the last couple of years, my primary focus and leadership is based around the Sherwood Tax and Accounting firm. And what we've been doing at the firm here is really doing exactly what we're going to be talking about today, making sure that we serve the right client base, that we've got the right client base to balance with what we want to accomplish in the firm. And so you mentioned that my overall mission is to bring joy to accounting. Our tagline for Sherwood Tax is that we're making taxes less stressful for small businesses and their owners, because I think tax is something that causes a lot of anxiety for our clients. And if we can help alleviate their anxiety, it makes our stress lower as well. So that's been our goal for the last couple of years, is to really give clients some transparency into how we operate. And we feel that that can help the relationship overall.
And that's cool that you identified that stress that tax causes for people, because I was always surprised when I was sitting across the table, when someone was sitting there and I was doing the tax return, and how nervous they looked, because tax is tax, but for taxpayers, it's a very nerve-wracking time of year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So before we jump into the questions, I just want to get the first polling question up. So warning, polling question is launching now. Make sure you answer this polling question. Do you ever feel that your clients are taking control of your time? And I'm going to leave this up here for a minute. And one thing, while this is up there, while you're answering this question, I did not let you know that I said Kristen is out speaking at events. Al-Nesha does a lot of education as well. I know a significant amount for Intuit, but I'm sure other places. She is a currently, aren't you teaching at some university?
Yep, I teach a QuickBooks Online course at Essex County, which is a local college here. And I do probably somewhere between like 6 to 10 speaking engagements at Montclair State. That's my alma mater. I loved it so much. I graduated twice.
All right, nice. All right, so this poll's been up almost a minute. 86% of you have responded. I'm just going to leave this up for 2 more seconds and I'm closing. So if you need your CP, make sure you answer this question. It is closing. I'm ending the poll, and 81% of you feel that at some point in time, your clients are taking control of your time. And I'm not surprised by that, because that happens. That's just it's just the way we are. Well, sometimes we let it happen, and I don't think we need to. So let's go into this. I'm going to start with you, Al-Nesha. How have you successfully taken control of your accounting firm and shaped it according to the vision that you've had?
Yeah, I started with crafting a vision. That was step one, and making sure that it was true to what I actually wanted this business to look like. So not just what I thought my vision was, but actually putting it pen and paper, and sharing that amongst my team and sharing that with clients and putting it on our website. I think it's really important that it's out there. It sort of holds you accountable. And then it gives you a framework. When you have a vision and core values, you have something to look across everything you're doing and say, does this align? Because you don't want to be hypocritical, not to yourself, not to anyone else, and say, hey, this is what we do, and then immediately not do it. So we take our vision and our mission and our core values into account when we're looking at our processes, when we're looking at how we accept new clients. That's how we rate new clients. That's how we frame our interview questions for new candidates, to just make sure that it's all tying back to that vision. But I mean, ultimately, we took control of our firm. When we decided we couldn't let everyone else dictate how we were going to work, because I have fallen prey to answering every email immediately. I've done that, right? Like, I got it and I thought I needed to immediately respond. And I regularly remind myself that this is not like an emergency room. It's just an accounting firm. Like, we're literally just accountants. So just recognizing what we needed to not feel like we're constantly on fire, and then not being so obligated to do everything in the moment and derail my entire day. That had a lot to do with it. And when we decided that we were going to take control, we changed everything. Website, clients we served, everything changed.
All right. And so the vision set the stage for all of that. And that's what you look back to. I think that's great. Identifying the clients that are a great fit and those that aren't a great fit. Do you have a percentage of, if you're looking at a new client, are they all coming on? Is there some you just realize are not going to be a fit for you?
Yeah, that has actually shifted. So there was a time where we did a ton of consultation calls, and a lot of them were not a good fit. And that had something to do with our intake process, and just anyone could book a consultation call. So our close rate at one point was like 20%, which is not terrible, but it was just kind of like, what about all the hours we spent on the phone talking to people who were just not right? So now we changed it to a much longer intake form so that we get a lot more information from people. So we're doing significantly fewer consultation calls, but now we are closing on 40 to 50% because we've done more work up front. So I'm totally fine doing fewer calls and having a higher close rate than talking to a bunch of people who we really aren't the best fit for.
Okay, great. So you've used tools in place to help maximize your time, increase the close rate, and minimize the calls you have. Kristen, that's great. Kristen, let's same question. And we might not get to all these questions today, but we will definitely get to the important ones.
So we also were really intentional about this, similar to Al-Nesha. We always start with our values and our mission, our core values. And then we did a real big strategic initiative about 1.5 years ago where we set about creating our ideal client profile. And we made a list as a team, all of us together, we made a list of all the ideal traits that we would want our clients to have. So we looked at the specific, almost like creating an avatar for an ideal client. And then we also looked at the services that we like to provide those clients. We looked at those services where we felt like we could provide the most value to the client and that we enjoyed doing. So we really honed down that pared down our client list a lot. So then we could take our existing clients and kind of rank them according to where they fell into this bucket and the services that we provided. And so we came up with a lot that weren't really fitting in to this ideal client avatar that we created, as well as the services that we wanted to offer. And so that really helped us a lot in moving forward with the strategy. So for example, when I purchased the firm, there was full service payroll happening within the firm. And we're talking about some of these clients were running weekly payrolls and with hourly employees. I mean, it was just like in our opinion, it wasn't a high value service that the clients appreciated. So that was an easy one to get rid of in the last few months so that we can then focus on more of our kind of tax advisory and really working with the clients and the services that they value.
And so I know when you were going through that process of making the change with your clients, and in general, I'm guessing it was a painful at some level process of saying, hey, this is our new service. This is how we're going to do it. We are not going to be able to service everybody. But the thing that I see often is that people avoid that because they don't like the short-term pain and they don't realize that the long-term happiness and efficiencies are just going to way overtake that. It's just the way our brain works.
Yeah.
I think it's like,
you know what, Randy, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. We were bracing, like, honestly, because in a lot of firms, you don't have to do it the way we do it. We kind of gotten to a point where we really needed to make a drastic change really quickly just because of things that were happening in the firm. There's ways to do it slower, but the way that we went about it, we did it pretty drastically and we were bracing ourselves. And yes, there was some client pushback but it was not nearly as bad as we had anticipated. So I would keep that in mind for folks that I know that it's scary, but it wasn't nearly as bad as we thought.
Yeah. And I think that's just a key thing for everybody to know, because not only things like that, things like just the pain point of installing more technology to make you more efficient, people will avoid because they're fear the short-term pain rather than the long-term gain. They don't see that down the road. And that's just something we overall need to get through. All right, Kristen, I'm going to rotate back and forth between these questions. So let's go, just to be fair, we start with each of you. Let's go to this next question with you. Yeah. And you see it. What strategies do you employ to set the clear and realistic realistic client expectations, which is important? That was kind of our first polling question. How do you not give them control, but you set the expectations to ensure transparency and avoiding misunderstandings or avoiding clients calling you at 10 o'clock at night or whatever. So how do you set these boundaries, these expectations?
Yeah. So similar to Al-Nesha, we've done more work on the front end of before they even become a client, that we kind of have this templated email that we send out saying, thank you for your interest in Sherwood Tax. Happy to set up a meeting with one of our tax professionals to see if we're a good fit. Right off the bat, we want to let you know how we work. And we set out a few things like, first of all, our pricing, we give them our brochure so that they understand that we price in packages and we are looking for a year-round relationship. We're not just like a one-off, firm that's going to just prepare your tax return. And then the other thing that we make them aware of is that we do work with an outsourced team. And so we make sure that everybody's all aligned with that, because for those tax folks that are out there, they know we have to ultimately get disclosure from our clients. So similar to Al-Nesha, I don't want to get all the way down the process and then have to talk to them about that and have them bail out because they get, nervous about that or whatever. So we do a lot of stuff on the front end. And then by the time I do have that discovery call and end up sending a proposal out, I make sure that I'm really clear with the clients about, here's what I understood you said is you want from our engagement. And here's, these services that we are going to be providing and the price points for that. And I'll even say, we talked about quarterly meetings, this package has twice a year. If you wanted to go to quarterly, here's what this would look like, you know, and making them understand that, like, yes, we provide year-round support. However, if we need to do any extra, you know, if you get audited by the IRS, that would be an initial engagement. So you can't call out in every specific thing, but we try to, as much as possible, make it real clear about what we are having the client sign up for. And I know our next phase would be to then communicate, like have a client communication policy. This is something that's on my goals for this year, because I've seen other firms do that. Just so, again, the clients are real clear about like when to expect, you know, how soon to expect an email reply versus, you know, like, for example, scheduling phone calls with us. Like, we don't, if you call our office, you are not going to get to talk to a tax professional at the moment that you call, you know, just things like that, and setting boundaries around that.
I think that's great. And one thing you did, and I don't know if this is a common thing, but that you do this ongoing, but when you did this whole change of how you were going to work with clients, didn't you send out a video to explain this to them?
I did. I did. I sent out a video just letting folks know that really the pricing and the services that Sherwood Tax is providing is going to be changing. And so I said, I saw the smirk on your face, because yes, it was 22 minutes long, the video that said, I've gotten better at like paring down my videos, so yes, I do that. And then I have an onboarding video that I send to clients once they accept our proposal. And then also with existing clients, because I feel like things change all the time, at least once a year, I'm sending a video to almost like a tax season kickoff video, where I'm saying, hey, here's how things are going to operate this year. So that, again, managing those expectations along the way.
Perfect. And Al-Nesha, more to add? Same question to you. How do you set those expectations with the client?
Yep. Almost everything Kristen said. I believe very strongly in engagement letters. Again, I come from audit, so I swear by an engagement letter, as I'm sure most of us do. But I like, in engagement letters, we have a what we'll do and what we won't do section. And I think they're equally as important, because they just help to sort of draw the line in what we've agreed to versus what you might have assumed this package included, and it doesn't. And we customize our engagement letters. So although we have a template, we go back for everyone and just like triple check that, like, these are the items in the package, because packages do change, and this is what we will do and this is what we won't do, at least not for this fee. And I think it's really important to have something to refer clients back to and say, hey, this is what we agreed upon. Because I think we are in a weird space where we are lacking a big educational component for clients and taxpayers. And they really don't know the difference between tax prep and advisory and regular education and tax resolution. They don't know. They just say tax, IRS. They don't sometimes know the difference between sales tax and income tax. So they just don't know. I think it's our job to educate them and be able to point them back to that. So I'm very big on that. I like to be able to, similar to Kristen, sort of lay things out. So we send in the very beginning of tax season. These are our deadlines. If you want your taxes done on time, you need to have completed your checklist by this date. We sent that email in January. We don't even accept tax organizers in January. You can't even, you're right, like you don't even think about expecting us to start before January 31st. But if you want your business tax return done, we need your checklist done by February 10th. We already have your documents. We've talked to you all year. We did your bookkeeping, so that's fine, but you need to do your checklist by February 10th. That's what our deadline was this past tax season. Individuals March 10th, right? And that's the only way we can guarantee. Anything you send in April went on extension, and we will talk to you in mid to late May. And that's just that. So I think if you let people know things in advance and you can point them back to it, that's the easiest way to sort of manage their expectations.
Yeah, I think that's great. Setting that time frame. And this, I wish I knew both of you when I had my firm, because I did things very poorly. I've learned a lot, but just setting that, I would be the one, oh yeah, if you're going to get in April 12th, I'll get it done. No big deal. And you're just setting bad expectations. It's just something you have to take control of. And both of you have done, which I find really, really cool and impressive. Al-Nesha, a couple of things you said there was the deadlines when they get you the information.
Yeah.
How about a new client coming into tax season? Is there a deadline that you won't take on somebody new after a certain date? Or is that not a policy?
Yeah, we did a wait list. We didn't even take on new clients this tax season, only because well, we were already pretty full, but the other part of that is the majority of our clients are business owners. And we don't want you to come in for tax season, not have bookkeeping. I've done it, right? I've done what you said. I've told a client on April 12th, yeah, I mean, I can get it done by April 15th. And you know what they did next year?
They came,
Showed up on April 12th
right.
again. So you create these bad habits. And then next year they showed up with a friend. So now two of you expect me to work on April 15th. So no, just no. But for a client that comes in during tax season, if you are a great fit, we let you know from the beginning, you're going to have to go on extension because we want to see what the books look like. You may or may not need cleanup. We don't do cleanup during tax season. So we're very clear. Does that work for you? And if so, we can continue the conversation. And if you are uncomfortable with that, then we're not an ideal fit and we're happy to send you somewhere else. But we try to just manage the workflow. And that means we can't just bring in lots of people during tax season. It just doesn't work well for our team.
Got it. And then as long as we're here, because I think we're talking about efficiencies already in there. Other things for you from efficiency standpoint, how have you able to then cut down to 4 days a week? What are the things that you do to make sure that you're working as efficiently as possible while keeping the high standards, obviously?
Yeah, it process management and constantly reviewing our processes. Some specific things we did. We required that year-round relationship because what I saw in 2020 and like full transparency and full disclosure, I was in the pandemic just like my clients. I think clients sometimes believe accountants don't have things going on, but I did just like they did. When we got to 2021 to do those tax returns, we found out people lived in different states. They had become master traders and managed to like make 14 cents out of 86 transactions. Like a lot of stuff happened for people. People sold homes, bought homes, and I was uncomfortable with how much had happened that we had no idea of. So it was like, you know what? We have to make people have those conversations with you. You have to talk to us 4 times a year, because if we know what happened, we can better prepare. We know what to expect. You know what to expect. So that was 1. 2, no one starts a tax return before you are completely done. And our tech stack helped with that because ProConnect now has a mark done button. So when you finish your organizer and you upload, you mark done. The next step in our process is for someone internal, not a tax preparer, to review what you uploaded and make sure you provided everything we expect based on your checklist. And if not, they send it back, because the number of times you can touch a tax return and wait for documents, that's such a time suck. So having that process sped up the time we spent on tax returns. And if we can speed that up, we're that much more efficient. And then we like to, once a month, we intentionally have a process improvement meeting, like where we just go through what the process is. And then we think as a team, how could this be better? And don't be afraid to ask your clients. You should ask your clients, what could we do better? You'd be surprised the suggestions they come up with. Not all great, but they could help. But where could we be better? Where's this redundant? And where could we sort of like consolidate some things? So by taking time to only think about that, we were able to look into like other things our software did that we just weren't taking advantage of. Just not, because we picked it for A and we didn't even recognize it did B. So things like that have helped us to streamline the overall process and save some time. And if we cut down the things that we're doing sort of repetitive, or we don't even have to do, they're redundant, and we can save 2 minutes on a task we do 15 times a day, you get back 2.5 hours a week.
Yep, that's awesome.
Days per year.
Yep, that's awesome. Kristen, before we go to you with this, I'm going to put up the next polling question. So I'm about to launch poll number 2. Do you have a cutoff date for when you can accept new clients during or before tax season? I'm just curious on this.
I know, I can't wait to hear how people answer this one.
Yeah, see if people were like me in my old life or if they're like the two of you, which obviously is, I think, better way to go. We've got 83% participation right now. We were a little higher last time. So if you can get that responses in there, then we can get back to this great information we're learning today. All right, we've got 93% of you participating. I'm going to give you 3 more seconds here. I'm going to end this poll. Make sure you get your response in to get your CPE. Poll is ended now, and 66% of you do have a cutoff date. So that's pretty good, I think. I don't know. It's not 100, but 66% at least are say you're not going to take any new clients on after a certain date. Well, I didn't ask what that date is. Hopefully that date's not April 12th, like we were just discussing, but that's good. And then so Kristen, to you then on this one, same thing with efficiency, same question. What tools or systems do you have in place or processes to help you?
Yeah, I am 100% with Al-Nesha as far as like, yeah, having our really, we have a practice management system. And so all of our processes are very well documented in there. And so that any team member can kind of jump in and see exactly what they're supposed to do. And so I would just add a little wrinkle to what Al-Nesha said, and that the other thing that we worked really hard on is everybody within the firm. We really looked at the roles within the firm and who is doing what. And you touched on it, Al-Nesha, because we talk about like how much, like we try to, one of our core values is just like to perform at your highest and best use. And so that means if there's folks like, if I, as the partner of the firm, am doing admin, that's not me performing at my highest and best use. And similar to like a tax preparer, if they're doing admin work, same thing. So we try to like push that to the appropriate team member as much as possible, so that then that frees up our tax preparers and our client facing folks to really provide the value to those clients. And so, but like Al-Nesha also said, it's an ongoing thing. We're continually honing, and I love the once a month thing. I don't think we've been as disciplined about that. So I'm going to write that down and add that to our thing, because I think that's important too, because then it's always fresh, right? That you're always thinking about it when it's real fresh, to be able to hone those processes and involve the team in doing that.
And I think while we're here, not a question on this slide, but while we're here, we're talking about efficiencies. I think one of the biggest things for efficiencies is the technology that we use. So I don't know if you want to talk about your tech stack in general, or what's the most important part of your tech stack that helps make you efficient. Kristen, you want to dig into that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said a minute ago, I think it's our practice management system. I mean, just so full transparency, we use Carbon for that. And the reason why I say this is because with Carbon, we're able to actually see on a client's timeline all the email interactions that they have with every firm member. So even if I'm out or if another team member's out, if I'm working on that client, I can see all the email interactions that have occurred, because I found that prior to using that, a lot of times conversations or things would happen, like maybe the client told me something, the preparer goes and does a tax return, and they didn't include the child that they just had because they had told me that in an email. So that really, that's why I put that as the top of our list at really creating those efficiencies and streamlining the communication. And it is a task management as well, and a project management.
Perfect. Al-Nesha, how about you from a technology standpoint?
Yeah, for a lot of the reasons Kristen mentioned, HubSpot, that's what we use for our CRM. And like, if I can't do it with HubSpot, I just don't want to do it. But it was making sure we didn't lose email communication, because like Kristen said, if it goes to one person, the other person has no idea. But the other thing that I loved was when we did have a ton of consultation calls, I would send estimates, and then I would completely forget about the people. It was kind of like, if you wanted to work with us, you better find us. And I do believe that the magic is in the follow-up, and that sometimes people do just need, a little nudge. But there were so many people, I would have to go back and look at the calendar to see who I talked to the previous week, and then ask my admin to follow up. Like, could you just check my calendar every week? But now we can set tasks and assign them. We can automatically follow up if they don't reach back out to us. And my favorite thing, because I have a terrible short-term memory, is that we can record our calls and take notes. So if someone tells me like, my child graduates next week, or I'm moving, or things like that, they think that I'm really magical because we have a little something, you know, appear at their doorstep. But I'm not. I already forgot, quite honestly. But the software is keeping track of those sorts of things for me. And then I can use those things to sort of start building that personal connection with the client. So that's all housed in HubSpot. It's hands down my favorite part of my tech stack.
All right. And as long as we're on you,
Yeah.
let's go to the next question, which is kind of overall encompassing of everything we're talking about, because everything we're
Yeah.
talking about is efficiencies and how we be better and how we manage the client expectations. But
Yep.
but techniques in general, things you do. I know the 4-day work week, and I just
Mhm.
am so impressed with that. But the tips, techniques that you've used to get this work-life balance in your accounting career.
Yeah, I remember where I came from and the things that I didn't love when I was at a big four firm or at another company. I just remember what was difficult for me, and I try to make that better. One, I talk to my team about what they need for work-life balance. A lot of that required some wrangling of the team. And the example I like to use is, and this is because I'm a very last-minute packer, if I realize 2 hours before my flight that I forgot a shirt, can I just walk into Macy's at 5 a.m. and take one off the rack? No, because Macy's has said, we will see you at 10 a.m., Al-Nesha. You need to plan better. And that is what I like to teach clients, that, you know, we have an availability window, and you can reach out outside of that window, but I don't want you to expect an answer in that window. And I have to model that from the top so that I can teach my team that what goes for me also goes for them. So we do a really good, I think we do a really good job at making it clear to clients. When we're out of office, the team sets a reminder that on Friday that we work a 4-day work week. We have an answering service, and they're also aware, and they communicate that if the client calls. But and we schedule emails. We schedule them because we don't want to teach the client that just because you got an email from us at midnight, right? Because we're working late, don't email back and expect a reply. So we try to just keep the client sort of focused on that. And I think by scheduling calls and not letting clients pick up the phone and hold you for 30 minutes, it takes away that like little fires everywhere mindset. Because when clients could call me directly, I would get stuck on a call for 20 minutes and then have to remember what the heck I was working on. Or worse, I drop what I was working on and immediately start working on what they needed. And it would flip my whole day upside down. So by creating that barrier with that answering service, and like we schedule calls, you cannot just call us and get us right there. It's really helped us to sort of like manage our workload, create some work-life balance, create some flexibility in our schedule. I feel like we breathe easier working like that.
And the scheduling of calls and the emails probably helps with that 4-day work week. Because my question was going to be, was there any pushback did from clients with 4 days? Have you had any issues, or is it run pretty smoothly?
I won't say pushback, but I mean, there was initially an expectation that we'd be available on Friday because they needed us, but not one person that said that could present to us like, and here's why I need you on Friday and no other day, right? So we had clients who said, oh, but we like to get our packets out on Friday by 5. And it's like, okay, and if we get the packet out, someone checking it Friday at 5? Or are they going to check it on Monday because they're already going because it's Friday at 5?
Right.
Right. So we challenge them and ask them, you know, are we really messing anything up? Right. And we have one client who they like to meet on Fridays. We talk to them once a quarter. So 4 times a year, we have a call with this client for 30 minutes on a Friday, because we're still flexible people. But for the most part, clients, everyone else knows, you know, we have Monday through Thursday availability. We can do evenings and things like that. But it's important to me that my team gets that time to sort of decompress and prepare themselves for Monday. I think it also makes us more efficient because we're all looking forward to like taking a step back on Fridays.
Right. And just as a disclosure, it is Friday today. You went in the
And I would do
office only
anything
for us.
you. I'm in the office just for you. And I do this on a Friday, a Saturday, a Sunday. I'd break into Macy's for you at 5 a.m. for sure, if you really needed me to.
All right. Well, we appreciate that. So Kristen, how about you on what have you done? And I know part was that whole transformation I'm sure you went through as a firm, but to achieve and create this work-life balance for you and your firm.
Yeah. So one of the things, and also, by the way, self-care is one of our core values. And I feel like I'm continually having to remind my team that it is one of our core values. And what does a core value mean? It means that it's core and we don't compromise on it and we make it a priority. But it's me having to preach about that a lot. But one of the things kind of on the flip side, because I've done a lot of the things Al-Nesha said, but on the flip side, I feel like I have the most balance when I actually schedule the time in for that self-care. So when I schedule my exercise, when I schedule my vacations well ahead of time, because it's never convenient to go on a vacation is what I've learned. There's never a good time. There's bad times for sure to go on vacations, but there's never a good time to do it. And so if you plan ahead and make everyone aware, and same thing, even just for the little things like that yoga class or that spinning class or the things that I like to do, even if it's just like, oh, I'm going to hang out with my daughter and we're going to binge watch that show that we're watching, like that, whatever it is that we're going to make time for that self-care. And the other thing, I just want to put it out there to anyone that will listen to this. Do not give your clients your personal cell phone number. There are many, many technological options to get around from this. I have an option. It sounds like Al-Nesha does too. My clients can still text me. Everybody likes to text, and that's fine. Google has an option for this. Ring Central has an option for this. I know there's other things. Don't give your clients your personal cell phone number. And I do have a few because I have been around a long time, and some of them just have it from years back. I respond to them and I say, this is, if you want to connect with me about a work-related item, you need to text this number. And I'm not going to reply to you on my personal cell phone number about this stupid thing that you're texting me on a Saturday about.
All right.
Love and kisses.
I'm putting another check mark around Randy mistakes. That's another mistake of mine.
It's easy to do. It's
right.
easy to do. And we didn't used to have so many options as we do now. Things move fast. So we'll give you some grace around it.
And technology helps a lot with that. So I'm going to go to the next poll. And so before we jump into the next question, I'm launching poll number 3. Are you analyzing new technologies that's supposed to say year, to help you be as efficient as possible? I wrote these poll questions about a half hour before we went live.
They're really good though, Randy. I'm appreciating these poll questions because I'm curious how people are answering.
Yeah. And so are you constantly looking at new technologies to help you be efficient as possible? This kind of goes back to what we mentioned a little earlier, that sometimes I'm seeing people not implementing new technologies because they fear the short-term pain as they associate it with. Technically, there's probably really not much pain, but your part of your brain sees the pain first and not the benefits. And so that's why sometimes we avoid it. But we have 93% of you participating, good participation. I'm going to end this poll right now and give you the results, not show you the results, but tell you the results. And I'm very impressed. 86% of you are constantly analyzing new technology. So that's great to hear, because that is one of the biggest things we can do, I think, to be efficient. And you've heard from these two already. They're key tools in what they use to be efficient. All right, so let's move on. Kristen, I think we're back to you then. So how do you effectively manage and prioritize workload for you and your staff to ensure that we are getting work out still, and that obviously there's a good client satisfaction with what's being delivered?
Yeah, so I have a tech answer and I have a non-tech answer. So my tech answer is, again, my practice management system, because we are able to view what projects are out there, the status of each of them, and kind of we typically try to operate from a first in, first out basis. So when I say first in, like Al-Nesha, that means all your stuff. That doesn't mean you just happen to give me one thing first. That means that all your stuff is in, your books are ready to go, and it's actually ready for a tax preparer to touch it. So we have our system to be able to do that. And so when I'm ready, when I've blocked off my time to do my tax return, reviews or whatever I'm doing, I'm able to kind of bring up my list, sort it by those different measures. The second thing I do that's my non-tech thing is that we have a daily stand-up meeting, like all hands staff meeting. So at that time too, we bring up that practice management. I can see what's on everybody's list. Everybody can see what's on everybody's list. And so then if my office manager's gotten a call and said, oh, hey, this person's trying to refi, can we bump them up on the list? We have the ability to kind of reshift and reprioritize things on the fly if needed. And also it just gives visibility on what everyone's working on. Or like today, I've been traveling the last 2 weeks. So I said to my team, like, hey team, is there anything? Because now I always have the highest number of things on my list. So I'm like, okay, team, is there stuff that's buried in my list that I need to bump up? And they go, yes, do this, this, and this. And so we have to have that kind of real time. And these meetings are 15 minutes a day. It's not like it takes a lot of time, but I think just having that initial thing at the beginning of the day sets the right tone for the rest of the day.
Nice. All right. Al-Nesha?
Yeah. I just wanted to add one thing to what you said earlier, Randy, about evaluating tech stack, more so from the poll. I mean, there's like Kristen said, a right time and a wrong time for everything, and the wrong time is probably during tax season. So I would wait on evaluating tech. I like to keep, we do our weekly meetings, which is a part of this question. But we do a Google Sheet every week. Our agenda's in a Google Sheet, and the front of that Google Sheet is where we have our little process improvement list. But then we also keep a list about like things we hear, because I think we hear about so many technology apps and things like that. Just keep a running list and just revisit it after tax season. But I think you just overwhelm. I overwhelm myself when I try to do those things during tax season. It's a hard no for me. We're not changing anything from January to April. So how I effectively manage it, of course, it's the tech we choose, having Asana, that's what we use for our project management software. That makes it super easy. HubSpot helps to make it really easy. We do weekly all hands on deck meetings, Monday morning. So we fill out our agenda before, and it's like 5 blocks, and it's how was your weekend? Rate your weekend 1 to 10. How's your morning so far? What are your 3 priorities for this week? And then when we get to the next week, we're going to see how you did on those 3. We have a column that says, are you stuck on anything? Because I want people to know it's okay to be stuck, but I do need you to say you're stuck. And I fill out that column as well. And that tells us what we might need to reallocate or put more hands on. It highlights a bunch of things. So knowing those things helps us to avoid time sucks and bottlenecks and things like that. And then we also ask our clients for feedback. So as part of our closing out of a tax return, after they get their e-file confirmation and things like that, there's a scheduled email that goes out 24 hours later that just says, how did we do? Right? Fill out this short survey. Did we meet your expectations as far as our communication during the process, and the review meeting, and the time in which we took to complete it? Were the results of your tax return what you expected?
You do that on the HubSpot, Al-Nesha?
We do. It's a Google form.
Okay.
Well, the link, the template and all that is in HubSpot, but the actual like survey request is a Google form, and it allows us to easily compile all that data, because you can like look at it individually or as a group. So how did we do? And does everyone complete it? No, but you know who absolutely will complete it? Someone who's highly dissatisfied or someone who's really satisfied. So you get the ones you really need in there.
Yep. And let's go on to, and I don't know who was supposed to go next. Now I've lost track. So Al-Nesha, we're still on you for this. I skipped one question because I want to talk. We're just talking about clients, and you said dissatisfied clients, but
Yeah.
also how about challenging clients? How about clients that just are not going to conform with the policies you've put in place? How do you handle that? And let's just talk about that. How do you handle it? But how do you disengage? Because, you know, there's, I'm sure, certain clients that is just, as a friend of ours says, invite them to be successful elsewhere.
Yeah, exactly. I think challenging could come from a lot of places. First, I like to hear past the noise, right? Because I want to hear what you're actually trying to say to me past just the words you're tossing out at me. So were you surprised by something? Did you expect something? Is this a miscommunication? Because I think that can be pretty quickly resolved. Is it that we have a total, like, are we on polar opposites of where you stand with like our tax strategy, right? Because we tend to be a little more conservative. And I know some clients who would like to be like 2 steps outside of the jail cell, with the way they want to take deductions, right? And you should be aligned with the professional that's right for you. So I listen to what they're saying and I hear past the noise. I do not reciprocate energy. I think that's very important in professional settings. What I do personally is personal, but in business, I will not reciprocate your energy because I'm not just representing myself, I'm representing this business, and I want the team to feel the same way, that whatever you give us, we're not giving that back to you. And when it comes to disengagement, I try to keep emotion out of it. If we decide this is not going to work, I still want to invite you to be successful somewhere else in a professional manner. So it's pretty cut and dry. Everything will be in writing. We try to have a call about it. If the client doesn't have a call, we will write up the disengagement, letting you know exactly what you can expect. We remove access. We suggest, you remove access for anything we can't remove our own access from. We archive like your projects and things like that. We tell you where to get your tax returns and for how long. We make sure you have it in email. HubSpot tracks all of our emails so we can tell when you've opened a document or when you've opened an email. There's been like a handful of times we've also mailed that to the client, but we just try to make sure that it's very clear and cut in a nice, pretty communication that we know you opened, and then we just move on. We take whatever lessons learned and we move on to the next.
All right, perfect. And Kristen, same question.
Yeah, so I feel like we had a unique situation last year when we kind of redid how we, our offerings of the firm, like I was talking about earlier. So there were a lot of clients who kind of self-selected out of that, and that's fine. Like what we were doing, that was not, they weren't picking up what we were putting down, and that's fine. For those that didn't, again, when we went through that whole process of going through our client list and kind of assigning who lined up and who didn't, because we had a lot, there were some that we didn't feel like we actually had a relationship with, that we were okay just sending out an email or a termination letter, just kind of saying, hey, we're not going to be able to service your, and we did it way early. Like we did, I feel like in September or something, like real early, just so they'd have time to find another preparer. We gave them resources for other preparers in the area. But there are other clients, kind of what Al-Nesha was talking about. There are clients who have stayed on with us through that transition, but yet are having a hard time. And I guess it's really all about kind of their attitude. I mean, there's some folks who they're very nice, but maybe they have a hard time with our tech. And I feel like we say a lot of times, as long as you're nice, we can work with you on a whole lot of things that maybe even we're willing to go outside our process a little bit because you're very nice and, you want to bring in all your documents and have a scan for you. Like, that's fine. We can go around some things. If you're not nice, that's when we start to have a problem. And so I find that when I can be, sometimes I can just be direct and say, hey, don't talk to my team like that. Or, hey, you've been super abrasive and I'm not going to be able to continue on with you if we continue down this vein. Some folks will get in line because maybe they just haven't had that before. They haven't had anyone just kind of coming along saying, you know what, that's not okay. And here's how this is going to go. And then from that point on, it's fine. But there's some folks who are going to continue to push that boundary. So I would say this is another thing that we're constantly evaluating. I mean, I allow my staff to tell me who they want to fire. Like ultimately, because they're interacting with these clients a lot of times more than I am. And so if they come to me and say, this person's a real problem, and I can try to have that conversation. And if it doesn't happen, then they're gone, because I need my staff more than I need any one particular client. So goodbye if you're not going to respect the team.
Got it. All right. Good information. I'm going to put, before we wrap here, I'm going to put the fourth poll up now. And then while this poll's up, well, let me read the poll first and we'll see where we're going to go with that. So oh, that's a long one. Poll number 4. Do you set boundaries with your clients? Items such as hours you'll be available, ways they can contact you, methods of getting you tax information. Is this policies or one or some of these that you as a firm have put in place? Not asking you to, asking the audience right now. I think I have a typo there again, but that's Al-Nesha knows that my handwriting and my typing are probably not the best. We did an event together a couple days ago. It might have been yesterday. No, 2 days ago, where she took over all handwriting opportunities that we had. All right. We need a few more people to respond to this before I close it, unless you're already comfortable because you answered 3 of the 4. Maybe that's why we're a little bit less in the results here. But I'm going to close this in a minute. While I do, Kristen, going to give you each an opportunity, but a minute and a half or so each of wrapping up with what's the most important things that you're doing that you really want to impress on others that you think helps you the best with running your firm on your terms.
Yeah, well, I love how Stephanie says, I need a try option on that poll. Steph, we're all trying. That's all we can all do is try. And so that's what I always like to emphasize. You know, Randy is gracious enough to have me and Al-Nesha on here, but like, I feel like every day I'm just doing my best, and that's all it is. It's just like, if we can, you know, I've gotten techniques from this. I love to just continue to learn and grow and think of more things that we can do while, you know, still obviously running a business and wanting to keep a good reputation about the firm. And so I think that's it. It's like, if you can glean a couple of different things that you can do differently in the next couple of months and start moving down that path, then it's about progress and it's not about perfection, because we'll never be 100% perfect with it. But it's more about just, I say, tune into yourself and tune into your team and how is everybody feeling, and really trying to keep a pulse on that is the most important thing.
Great. And Al-Nesha?
I love the last poll question because I think boundaries are so important in business and personal, just in general. And once you decide on your boundaries, you need to then communicate said boundaries, because if they only live in your head, that's just not far enough. The biggest thing I think I've taken away from creating a firm that works for me, that is successful in my term, life is coming at us at phases and stages, right? It's what works in this phase and in this stage. I don't like to take anything super big. I wish I was as bold as Kristen. I am not. I wish I could have been like, everybody, you're on board with what we're doing, or else. I did not do that. I did a 3-year journey, right? That was just what worked best for me, to release some clients and take on some clients over a 3-year path. So I don't think there's anything wrong if your journey just tells you to take it in smaller bite-sized pieces. It's honestly what works best for you. And my method is like, what I love, I keep. What I hate, I immediately discard of. And what I'm in like or dislike, I just do a little bit more digging to figure out why I like it and how I can make it a love. And if I dislike it, why do I dislike it? And could it be a love, or should it be immediately tossed out? But take things one step at a time, so that you don't overwhelm yourself, because that's also stressful, and who needs that? But it's what works best for you, period.
That's a great wrap. I appreciate that. I am always impressed by everything that both of you are doing, and it motivates me, even though I don't do anything, at least to educate others on that. And one thing I want to point out here before we wrap up, we get a really well received webinar a month and a half ago. Here's, if you want to scan that QR code, it just takes you to our YouTube channel. This episode will be on the YouTube channel as early as today, probably tomorrow. So you'll be able to see that there. But this one is that I did was take taxing out of tax season, how to avoid burnout. And then to expand on that, Al-Nesha and Kristen will both be speakers at our upcoming conference, which is August 29th and 30th, right outside O'Hare Airport, basically in Chicago. If you're interested, you could go to trymerit.com to register. It's going to be a great event. We're going to be talking about a lot of things like we talked about today. As you can see, we want to connect the generations. There's larger firms, smaller firms, modern firms, legacy firms, how they do things, take pros and cons from both and take the pros and use them. We want to prioritize your mental health, your physical health. In fact, in this conference, we're going to have one room that is solely dedicated to health, yoga, meditation, mindfulness, all the entire 2 days of the conference. If you want to skip out one session, you can go into the mindfulness room and then find your success, like these two have. I mean, they found their success. They define their success. They're not let that be defined by what somebody else does. So if you're interested in the conference, that'll be coming out. Well, the registrations are live now, but this will be the end of August. And last thing, thank the two of you for being here. It was a pleasure. I had a lot of fun, and thank everybody else who was here. And again, any more information you want from TriMerit, it's there, QR code there. We will put some links to Kristen and Al-Nesha, I would assume on the YouTube channel as well. Thank you, everybody, and have a great day.